Museum of Black History and Culture opened in 1997 to help visitors explore and embrace our region's African American heritage. In celebration of Women's History Month, they have opened an exhibition celebrating influential Black women. Here with me today is Lois Conley, the Executive Director of the Griot Museum of Black History and Culture. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So I always say, anytime I can talk about history, I love it. That's always a passion of mine. And so this is really neat. You have a new exhibit coming out that celebrates Black women from St. Louis and Atlanta.
Right. Yeah, this is Women's History Month, and so this is an opportunity for us to celebrate both women who, well, primarily in this case, women who may not be so well known in our city and maybe have not gotten their due. And so this is an opportunity for us to include them in the show with the ladies from Atlanta.
Okay, so let's talk about, you curated the exhibit, and so you selected these women. Who are they, and what was the selection process like?
Yeah, you know, in St. Louis, it's as with our history in general, there's so much that we could talk about, and so the selection process was not an easy one. It could have been there are about 30 women featured in the total show. And all 30 of them could have been from St. Louis. So we selected six of them. There's Alice Wyndham, who is a matriarch in the city, who has such a wealth of historical experience, having lived in Africa for a while with Malcolm X and W.B. Du Bois, and just has, you want to just sit at her feet and soak up all of the wisdom and knowledge she has about Black history. There is Dr. Paula Knight, who is the Assistant Superintendent of the St. Louis Public Schools, who has also a really great history in terms of her educational background and what she has done to assist the school district itself to grow and to improve the educational opportunities for our young people in the city. There is Dr. Sylvia Wright, who is also an educator who is retired now and has been in teaching and in the educational field for years. And again, we thought she should be someone who should be included for her work in the city and in the field of education. There is Renee Franklin, who is an arts enthusiast who works at the St. Louis Art Museum and who has been responsible for probably the last 20 years with developing their community outreach, particularly to the African American community, and making sure that the African American community is involved in the arts education process at the Art Museum and outreach into the community. Then there is Darlene Soul, who is the executive director of what is now called UP, which was formerly Neighborhood Housing. And she's been doing that probably for the last 10 years and has just been doing very remarkable things with that organization and bringing really exciting things to the youth here in our city. So we thought those women should be highlighted as a part of our Women's History Month celebration.
No, it's a great lineup, a really great lineup and diverse lineup of women. Was there a common thread? I mean, when you're sitting there, as you said, it's so difficult to narrow down extraordinary African-American women in St. Louis, but was there a common thread when it came down to those final six, at least on the St. Louis side? Yeah,
basically they met the criteria of being brilliant, being beautiful, and being Black. And all of them fit that. That is exactly what inspired the name for the title for the exhibit. And each one of them, in their own unique way, fits that one of those categories, if not all of them.
When you, as a St. Louis historian and as the director of the museum, we talk about with history so much of people and times representing an essence of, we want people to understand the present and understand the future, we have to look to the past. And so when you're selecting these women, what is it that you want ultimately, whether it's children coming to visit the exhibit, adults coming to visit, what's sort of the essence of this? You want people to know about Black women in St. Louis, that they've done extraordinary things?
Just that they are Black women who could do extraordinary things, and that the opportunities are there at any age for you to do just the same thing. You have to be committed. You have to want to make a change. You want to have to make a difference. And I think each of these women is an example of how you can do that. And that's an example for our young folks to understand that they too can do the same kinds of things.
No, that's really important, and I thank you for sharing that. Well, we've got the information there for you on the screen. The date that we're listing is actually the opening night of the exhibit, but Lois, correct me, it runs through April, is that correct?
It will go for 1 month. It will end on April 13th.
Okay, so it opens March 15th and runs through April 13th. It's called Brilliance, Beauty, Blackness, a Women's History Month exhibit of African American females. For more information, go to thegriotmuseum.com or call 314-241-7057. But don't go anywhere. We're going to have more with the Griot Museum right after this. We'll be right back.